Các bạn ơi, hiện tại đã là 5 rưỡi rồi, vậy thì mình sẽ xin phép được bắt đầu chương trình nhé. Thì du học lần đầu tiên thì du học Index muốn gửi lời chào đến các bạn sinh viên này đã dành thời gian quý giá để có thể tham gia buổi workshop ngày hôm nay với tên gọi là du học thạc sĩ TESOL này và Applied Linguistics with Professional Experience. Thì mình là Minh Tâm, sẽ đến từ du học Index và sẽ là host của chương trình ngày hôm nay. Và buổi workshop ngày hôm nay sẽ nằm trong chuỗi pre-event hướng đến triển lãm du học quốc tế của Index. Một chút thông tin để nếu như có bạn còn nào quan tâm này thì triển lãm du học quốc tế của Index với sự tham gia của hơn 10 quốc gia và 30 trường đại học sẽ được tổ chức vào ngày 30 tháng 10 tới đây. Thì nếu như bạn nào có mong muốn là được mentor một một này với các học bổng up to 100% hay là muốn gặp gỡ và lắng nghe các kinh nghiệm săn học bổng từ đa ngành nghề từ các học giả chuyên Việt Ninh danh giá này, hay chỉ đơn giản là trải nghiệm văn hóa ẩm thực thì các quốc gia thì chắc chắn là không thể nào bỏ lỡ sự kiện đặc biệt này nhé. Thì bây giờ ban tổ chức sẽ gửi link đăng ký và phê vào trong phần box chat này. Các bạn có thể đăng ký ngay tại đây để tham gia cùng Index nha. Đấy. Rồi. Theo như số liệu mà Index thu thập được từ TELF Traveling này, hiện tại Việt Nam đang nằm trong top 3 thị trường ESL phát triển nhanh nhất châu Á. Điều này đồng nghĩa với việc là những cơ hội nghề nghiệp trong lĩnh vực giáo dục ngày càng rộng mở và nó không chỉ dừng lại ở việc giảng dạy cơ bản đơn thuần mà còn đa dạng ở nhiều mảng khác nhau. Vì vậy mà với những bạn đang định hướng là làm trong ngành giáo dục này thì câu hỏi lớn sẽ được đặt ra, đó chính là TESOL và Applied Linguistics đâu mới là hướng đi phù hợp, mang lại nhiều tiềm năng phát triển lâu dài cho bạn. Và để cho các bạn có được một cái nhìn rõ nét thực tế chính từ những người trải nghiệm trong ngành thì hôm nay Index đã mời đến sự kiện đó chính là cô Quyen Tran, là Senior Teaching Fellow TESOL ở School Education Languages và Linguistics của University of Portsmouth, và Miss Adele Wong, the Regional Director Southeast and East Asia, University of Portsmouth. So, Dr. Quyen and Miss Adele, can you please say hello and introduce yourself directly to all the students here?
Hi everyone, can you hear me okay? Yeah. So my name is Queen and I am the course leader for the MA in Applied Linguistics and TESOL at the University of Portsmouth. Really nice to see you all virtually today.
Hello, everyone. My name is Adele. I'm the regional director for this part of the world, Southeast Asia and East Asia. I've been with the university for a long, long time, about 18 years, and I'm basically here to support you in today's workshop. If you have any questions for us, please do just shoot them across. And if you decide you want to apply to us later, I'll be there to assist as well. Good to see everyone.
Ok, vậy thì để bắt đầu chương trình ngày hôm nay thì mình sẽ đi qua agenda một chút nhé ở buổi workshop để mọi người có thể nắm được này. Đối với phần 1 thì mình sẽ cùng nhau tìm hiểu về trường University of Portsmouth và ngành TESOL tại UK qua sự giới thiệu của cô Adele này. Và đến phần thứ 2 thì sẽ là một chia sẻ một chút đến từ cô Quyên, tất cả về learning experience này, career opportunities và hành trình trở thành một TESOL lecturer của cô tại UK. Và phần cuối cùng đó chính là Q&A. Thì trong suốt quá trình mà diễn ra workshop, nếu như bạn nào có câu hỏi thì đừng ngần ngại đặt vào trong nhắn tin này và đặt câu hỏi cho các cô vào phần box chat nhé. Thì trong buổi ngày hôm nay thì các cô sẽ hỗ trợ mình giải đáp hết tất cả các thắc mắc này. Okay. Và không để các bạn chờ lâu hơn này, chúng ta sẽ cùng bắt đầu với phần đầu tiên rồi từ sự chia sẻ của Miss Adele các bạn nhé. Okay, so Miss Adele, we should now begin our event by your sharing about the University of Portsmouth, one of the few universities that integrates the TESOL program with the linguistics and offer extensive practicum opportunities. So beside this headline, could you please share more details about Portsmouth University with all the audience here?
Sure, of course. Happy to. So we do have a few introductory slides because I always say images and pictures help to tell a story. So thank you, everybody, for your time today. This is a very clear picture on a nice sunny day of Portsmouth City. And as you can see, it's right by the seaside. Could we go to the next slide? Yes. So generally, we're not far from London. So We are approximately, what it says here, 70 miles. If you want to convert that into travel time, I would say about 90 minutes by train from the center of London to the city center of Portsmouth, because train is a very popular way of traveling around the UK. We're also the gateway to Europe. So we do have some students who take some time off during the holidays to visit France or Spain, because you can easily take a ferry from Portsmouth to do that. And it's probably the cheapest way to get to Europe as well. Well, one of the cheapest, apart from maybe taking a bus or a coach. You can see, again, from this picture, we're right by the seaside. It's a bit of a touristy city, so a lot of British tourists as well do come down to the south. So we're in the south coast of England because we have the best weather. We hardly have snow during the winter, so it doesn't get that cold compared to the north. And, you know, as this picture shows, we do get a little bit more sun. Okay. Going on to the next slide, we are about 150 years old, approximately 28 to 30,000 students at the moment. But we have only about 20 to 22% international students. So we're trying to build on a little bit more diversity, and we would love to have more international students, hence our time with you here today. So if you actually look at this picture now, our campus is sort of within this frame. So we're pretty near the green fields that you see on the right side of this picture. Moving on to the next slide. I know some of you might have some interest in rankings of universities. So I've put 3 main rankings here. The one on the far left, which is the TEF, is a government-rated position. So we are in the top 20%, where we've been rated gold for teaching excellence. So it's a little bit like the Olympics, where you have either the bronze, silver, or gold. And we're very proud. Ever since this rating started, we've always been rated gold. On the far right, you may be familiar with QS. So we do have a 5-star rating. Again, you see teaching appear there. But the other thing that I want to point out is employability. So we do focus very much on teaching practical courses that improve your employability skills, as well as in reality actually get our graduates employed. So we do have an above average percentage rating of our graduates getting employed in industry. The one right in the middle is the Times Higher World Rankings. Now, when you look at that league table, it can be a bit confusing because there are probably more than, I don't know, say about 2,000 universities in that list. But if you just pull out the UK universities, you will clearly see that Portsmouth sits in the top 45. So again, we're ranked higher up than many other universities, because in the UK, you have approximately possibly close to 200 institutions that offer degrees. Next slide, please. I think another thing that I should point out, which may be of interest to all of you, is if you are concerned about your budgets, about how much you spend living in a particular city, not in Vietnam. So in the UK, you could be in London, you could be in Manchester, you could be in Portsmouth, many different cities, medium-sized or big. We tend to have a more affordable cost of living for students. So we have a little campus in London, which we do have some comparisons with. And I can easily tell you that in terms of cost of living, we are close to half of that of London. So it does make a significant difference if you choose to stay in Portsmouth to study. And we're not that far from London, as you could see earlier on the map. Next slide, please. So to prove a point, I am actually putting down here the tuition fees and scholarships that we offer. So although you've seen that we ranked in the higher 30% of the universities, our fees actually sit in the lower end. So if you were to do a direct comparison with, say, I don't know, some universities that ranked around the same position, you mostly find much higher tuition fees. So we value students from Vietnam a lot. We offer a £2,500 scholarship automatically to anyone who holds a Vietnamese passport. If you do very well in your previous qualification, like if you have a bachelor degree or you've studied something in high school, if you're going into a bachelor degree and you're around distinction level and you want to show off your good grades, then I encourage you to apply for a merit-based scholarship, which is about £5,000. So when you look at our fees generally, whether it's a bachelor degree all the way to master's programs, you can see that our fees are relatively more affordable than many other universities based in the UK. Next slide, please. This is just to give you a very brief idea of what it looks like if you decide that you want to come and study with us and live on campus. But we do also have a lot of private accommodation available. So there are thousands of rooms that are available both on campus and in private housing. So usually in the UK, it's very private. They are single rooms, normally no sharing, and majority of our rooms have attached bathrooms. They're ensuite, but our kitchens are fairly big. So with that amount of space, we have students who share the kitchen space or the lounge area, and it also gives you the opportunity to make friends, socialize a little bit within your student accommodation. Okay. You'll get communications from the student housing department once you accept an offer that you've been given. And these are guaranteed for students who come in for the first time to Portsmouth. So as long as you have met the deadlines for your offers, the housing department would be more than happy to contact you. All right, next slide, please. So just to give you an indication of living costs. So when I talk to the students and I ask them, so how much did you spend this year? How much are you putting aside for this year's living cost? Many of them tell me that they spent somewhere around £9,500 as an average. So obviously there's some who spent more and some who spend less. So it depends on how you live. If you do a little bit more cooking at home, then you probably save a lot more money. If you decide you want to go traveling, then you need to set aside a bit more. So there are supermarkets that offer Asian foods, lots of different Asian restaurants. We have Vietnamese restaurants as well around, dotted around the campus area. So you won't feel particularly homesick, I think, because there are some good quality Asian options around Portsmouth City as well. Next slide, please. Right, so when it comes to entry requirements, I'd like to talk about the English language requirements because today we're focusing on TESOL. So we do accept English language tests on this list. It does not have to be UKVI IELTS if you're taking IELTS. It can be the academic IELTS, which is a little bit more cost effective as well. You could take a TOEFL test, a Pearson PTE test. At the moment, we're accepting Duolingo online tests as well. Now, if you've studied, say, already you've studied in the UK and you've got a degree in the UK, then you don't have to take IELTS again. You can just show us your transcript and your certificate, and we'll be able to waive your IELTS. Now, if you're studying in Vietnam, but in a degree that is completely delivered in English, potentially we could waive your IELTS as well. But this is on a case-to-case basis. And what we do ask for is a letter from your university to state that you have studied fully in English, and we'll be able to consider that when you put in your application. Okay, next slide, please. Right, so I've done my bit, and I'm more than happy to pass over to Quyen now, who will explain a little bit to you about the TESOL and Applied Linguistics program. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Adele. So yes, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our course. However, if you have any questions, please do send them in the chat and I can answer immediately. You don't have to wait until the end of the workshop to ask questions. So before I say anything, I just wanted to get to know you a little bit for my audience. So I think the first question was already covered earlier. So my second question for you is for those of you who have already been teaching for a while, how many years of teaching experience do you have? Are you like kind of just 1 to 3 year kind of experience, or do you are you a more senior teacher with more than 3 years experience? Can you just that to me, just so I kind of have an idea of you know, like get to know you a little bit. Oh, 3 years. That's a very good one. Anyone who have slightly more or less? Oh, 8 years. So you are a very, very senior teacher by now. Anyone maybe have around one year experience for teaching children? That's really good as well. 2 years. Okay. So we do have a range of experience in our audience. My third question for you is, how familiar are you with TESOL or applied linguistics concepts? So for example, if you have maybe an undergraduate degree in either linguistics or TESOL, or maybe business communication is also a related field, how confident are you with your knowledge of TESOL and linguistics in general? From the scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you? With 1 is like, you know, very minimal confident, and 10 is like absolutely confident and you think you can get a distinction easily for this MA. Can you pop in the chat for me as well, please? Thank you. From 1 to 10, how confident or familiar are you with TESOL or applied linguistics concepts? 6 very specific, 6.5 out of 10, 4 out of 10. Maybe so.
That's really good as well.
I know Vietnamese tend to be a bit modest, so
Yeah,
don't be shy.
I would probably add
1 or 2 more to the score that you give me. So so I could see that you do have some familiarity with TESOL and linguistic concepts, which is really good. So I think I do want to hear from you a little bit. So for those of you who have taught for a while, what's one challenge you faced when you teach English? Or what skills that you find that most of your students struggle with? Or are there any skills that you are often a little bit unsure of how to engage your learners effectively? Can you also pop in the chat? Or if you like, I don't know if you can unmute yourself, but please do feel free to pop them in the chat. So the first question, what is the one challenge, the biggest challenge that you think you faced in English language teachings, whether it's skills or whether it's your confidence or any skills in particular that you are not that confident yourself as a language user? Yeah, just 1 or 2 words to summarize it. Or if you prefer, you can also tell me about one challenge you faced as a learner as well. Okay, mixed ability classes. Yes, that can be that is a very common challenge that many teachers will have. Mixed ability classes. Anyone, student concentration? Yes, of course, especially if you have, say, young learners, so kids, their concentration span is very short, so you have to change the pace of the lessons all the time. Listening and writing skills. Yes, so I know that in public schools, maybe listening and speaking usually are not the focus of the curriculum. So some of our students can struggle with these skills outside the classroom as well. competitive market. Probably in terms of finding jobs, I assume that you mean when you say competitive market, probably finding jobs as a teacher. Yes, it can be a very valid challenge as well. Thank you very much, everyone, for your insight. That's really helpful. So before I talked about our offering, our Applied Linguistics and TESOL course, so obviously for some of you who do not have lots of teaching experience, perhaps you have been teaching intuitively, or you have utilized your experience as a learner and use it to teach English. In order to become a good teacher, we think that some theories will be good for you. So these theories will help you to be able to reflect. You will have some foundation to rely on, and you will have some principles to reflect on your own practice. So in the course, we will provide you with the relevant framework and concepts in second language acquisition. But that is not all. So our course is very practical. So theories is not all that we teach, you know, like the slightly boring stuff. We also provide you with all of the latest teaching methodologies and procedures. We never tell you, you know, which one is the best teaching methodologies, because the motto of our teaching team is that the best teaching method is the one that would benefit your own students the most. So we will provide you with all of the available teaching methodologies, and then we will push you to reflect, to critically reflect, and to select yourself which teaching methodologies you think would be most suitable to the cohort of students that you have, because you will know your students best. We will also teach you very practical skills. So for example, syllabus design and language assessment, so you can become a very versatile teacher. So you don't just teach what was given to you, but you will be able to create the material, or you'll be able to engage in language testing. So this kind of knowledge will really enhance your employability in the future. And depending on the models that you choose, you will also have the opportunities to learn about research methods. If, for example, you want to progress onto a PhD in the future, for example. So I would like to ask you another question. So which area of applied linguistics and or TESOL interests you the most? Or any kind of skills that you think are your strengths, any kind of theories that really inspire your teaching methodologies? Please, can you share with me in the chat as well? Or for example, second language acquisition, which can be very challenging. Many students do find that this model, although very interesting, is also a little bit difficult, because there are a lot of theoretical concepts taught in this model, but not impossible. Vietnamese students tend to do very well in our course, so you know, I don't really want to scare you too much. So second language acquisition. Anyone interested in perhaps IELTS, you know, like exams, assessment, or perhaps academic English? CALL, yes, that is also one area that is becoming very popular. Or you also have teaching, you know, many teachers nowadays also have to use English to teach a specific subject. So for example, if you teach in international schools, you may need to use English to teach physics or biology, etc. And of course, if you aspire to become a university lecturer, then you have to use English to teach a very specific subject at the university as well. So thank you very much for your insight. So we do have two pathways in our MA, so two slightly different courses. So the first one is the MA in Applied Linguistics and TESOL. So in this model, as you can see, we have two core model, which is one second language acquisition is more of an applied linguistic model, and then theory and practice of TESOL is one that is more about TESOL. So the strength of this course is because if you look at the MA in the TESOL in other university, they either would provide you with MA in Applied Linguistics only or an MA in TESOL only. So you do have to consider a little bit, which one do I want to specialize? But in our course, we offer the models in both areas. So this will really enhance your employability. So for example, especially if you have been teaching for a while and you do want to progress in more senior position, for example, if you want to become a team leader, a course leader, or a director of studies, or a more senior teacher, because as I said before, you don't only just teach, but you are able to do all the things as well. So for example, in one of our optional model, we have analyzing, evaluating, and writing materials. We will systematically guide you how to adapt materials to suit the particular cohort of student that you are teaching. Because as you know, materials, they are usually produced for global markets. So Vietnamese students do not always find them very relevant because there are a lot of maybe cultural references that are not really familiar with your students or may cause offense. So in these cases, you would need to know how to analyze your student needs and then adapt the materials or even create a new material to suit the cohort that you are teaching. Or we also have the optional model on a more linguistic side. So for example, analyzing language in social context. So this model is about how language is used to kind of influence the public, or how it is used to provide to deliver an agenda. So for example, how language is used in newspaper, in political campaign, in political speeches to sway the public. For example, if you have if you've watched presidential campaigns before, this is a very good example of how language is used to persuade the public to vote for a certain person. Or for example, how language is used to persuade you to buy things. So how language is used in marketing, for example. So with these models, if in the future you kind of decide that you want to be a teacher, but you also want to have a second job in something else. So for example, if you want to work in publishing, you can also, because we have facilitate you with the knowledge for you to be able to work in this industry. Or if you want to work in marketing, or if you want to market your institution to make them more well-known to students, then you can also utilize the language, the knowledge that you've learned from these more linguistic models. And for the optional models, you can choose to do a dissertation, or you can choose to do an additional optional models. So the dissertation is very good if you do have PhD in mind, because usually when you apply for a PhD, you have to demonstrate that you have the research skills needed for the PhD project that you are proposing. So and many of our students, myself included, did the dissertation and then use it to prove my ability to do research to progress further into a PhD or a postdoctorate, professional doctorate programs. So this course is for people who have experience in teaching, because usually we find that if you do not have any background in linguistics or TESOL, you may find that the linguistic models may be a little bit more challenging because they can be very theoretical, and these models will ask you to reflect and to utilize the teaching experience that you have to do your assignments. So if you do not have much experience experience, it may be difficult to write the assignment, to complete the assignments for these models. You may have to imagine. So, you know, it can be very challenging. So for those who want to become a teacher, but you do not, an English language teacher, but you do not have a lot of experience, or you do not have a background in linguistics, then we have a second option for you to join our MA in TESOL. So as you can see, our core model in MA TESOL are very, for example, the one in September is a introduction to teaching vocabulary, reading and speaking. And in the January teaching block, we will focus on teaching grammar, writing and listening. So in these models, we will provide you with the very basic skills of teaching. So for example, lesson planning, how to assess your students, how to teach a specific skills, how to engage students in, for example, teaching grammar or writing. These can be a little bit, you know, many students find these a little bit boring. So we will teach you how to be able to engage students effectively in these skills. Obviously, you do have the options to also choose to explore some of the applied linguistics models if you want to. So these have become, so for example, second language acquisition in this course will become optional models. So you can choose them if you want to, but it is not a core model that you have to do. And again, if you want to progress further, or if you want to do more research in the future, you can choose to do the dissertation, or you can choose an additional two optional models. I'm not sure if anyone has any questions about these two courses. It can be a little bit, you know, like when university offers two seemingly similar courses, it could be a little bit confusing to know which one that will be suitable for you. So I really wanted to just check, or you can ask me later as well. Okay. So this is our teaching team. So we have our colleagues are very active in research, but they are also very practical people. So they will engage you in theoretical concepts, but they are actively writing materials and publishing. They work with a lot of publications and publishers. So they have the most up-to-date knowledge in the market. I didn't put my photo on here because, you know, you're just seeing me. So I don't really want my photo on here. But yes, we have, so for example, Alessia, she's the coordinator for the analyzing language in social context, and Alessia does a lot of research on feminism or misogynist, how misogyny is portrayed in social media, etc. Or we also have Gusha, who is the coordinator for the psychology of language learning and teaching. So this model will help you understand, you know, so students will come to you with a variety of motivation, and depending on how they perceive themselves, depending on their belief or their identity about language, it can affect their learning, and it obviously will affect your teaching as well, or you yourself as a teacher, your identity as a teacher, as a language user will also influence how you teach a language. So this model will encourage you to reflect on yourself as a language user, as a language learner, and a language teacher, so you can become a better teacher. And our star, Peter, he has published a lot of learning materials, and also he's an expert in teacher training, and he specialized in teaching readings, and has published a lot of materials in guiding teacher on how to engage students in reading, because, you know, reading is not always the most exciting kind of skill to teach, and many students kind of struggle with this skill. So just to give you a brief background of our teaching staff. So you may be interested about assessment because I know that Vietnamese students are very ambitious. They always aim for merit or distinction when they graduate from the course. So in our course, we will assess you by commentary. So for example, we will give you a teaching scenario and we will ask you to comment on we will ask you to evaluate the lesson and to hear a bit about your thoughts. Do you think it's a good lesson? Is it a bad lesson? Why do you think so? Or is there anything that you would have done differently if you were to teach the same topic, for example? We will also assess you by reflection because we think that being able to reflect is one of the best ability for you as a teacher. So after every lesson, you should reflect on how the lesson went, whether your students were engaged, what went well, what went wrong, so you can keep improving yourself as a teacher. And also, of course, as a teacher, we also ask you to create or develop lesson plans. So this is one of the assessment in the course as well. We may ask you to write a report on, for example, in the MA TESOL, you will have the opportunity to do micro teaching, to prepare a lesson and to teach that lesson. So we may ask you to write a report on, to evaluate your own performance in this lesson. And obviously you can choose to do the dissertation, or we may ask you to write a critical literature review to kind of assess how well you how familiar you are with some of the theoretical concepts about English language teaching. So that's all of the ways that we will assess you in this course.
As you can see,
we try to keep this assessment very practical, and we try to encourage you to reflect and to evaluate instead of just asking you to cite theories, because
teacher, more or less, you are like a performer.
Everything is in action. So we really want this kind of practical aspect in our course.
I like the fact that there are no exams.
Students actually like this. We embed a lot of support into our course. So for example, if you choose to do our MA TESOL because you are new teachers, we do several micro teaching sessions in order for you to learn how to teach specific skills. And we will also, obviously, we will also give you feedback on these micro teaching sessions, and we will ask you to write a reflection on these teaching experience as well. Every student at the University of Portsmouth is also allocated a personal tutor. So this tutor will be your first point of contact at the university. So for example, if you struggle with specific skills, so for example, I know that referencing may be very unfamiliar with many international students. If you struggle with these kind of academic skills, or for example, academic writing style can also be very difficult for some of the international students, you can contact our personal tutor, and then they can either offer you support themselves, or they can refer you to our learning development tutors who can offer one-to-one support. Or if you're a little bit shy and you prefer to go to these sessions with your friends, they can also organize group tutorial to guide you through your assessment. Okay. We also offer in-sessional English programs for international students. So if you want to improve a particular skill, when you study with us, you can obviously join these modules. They are absolutely free. So for example, I know that we don't really assess you in doing presentation, but if you think that you need a little bit of help with public speaking or presentation skill in general, we have a specific model designed to help you with this skill. Or if you are a bit unfamiliar with dissertation, the structure, the writing style, we do have a specific model that would help you writing a postgraduate dissertation as well. And obviously we do have additional support for students with special needs or disability. And we have student well-being service where we have trained professional who can help you with any mental health concerns or issues. So this is another question. I'm not too sure if you would be confident to share with me your career aspect, but I'm sure that most of the people who join me today your first and foremost career choice could be to become a teacher. But perhaps when you finish our course, you can climb up the ladder a little bit and then become a more senior teacher, or you can become a head of department or director of studies, etc. Or for new teachers, perhaps you can become a very, very confident teacher in 3 years with the knowledge that you've learned from our course. So our graduates, they can engage in many different areas. So different roles in, for example, they can obviously become a teacher at all level. So they may decide to work with young learners, so really, really young children, primary school children or secondary school, high school, or you can decide to become a university lecturer in the UK or here in Vietnam. That is also possible. Or if you want to specialize in assessment or exams, then you can become IELTS or TOEFL trainer. I know that these are the 2 most popular exams that Vietnamese students tend to take. Or you can go up a level and become a teacher trainer. So you go and then you train aspiring teacher, new teachers once you have the knowledge and experience as a senior teacher or director of studies, course team leader, or you may decide to progress on to further studies and become a PhD researcher. But our graduate, if you choose to study applied linguistics and TESOL, you can also engage in other career paths as well. So, for example, if you want to work in publishing and editing, you write a book on how to teach English. For example, if you accumulate enough experience in teaching speaking and you want to publish something, publish the materials to guide other teachers to teach speaking skill, or you want to publish materials for students on how to overcome their pronunciation challenges, you can work in publishing and editing or material writing, or you can also work in marketing and research and innovations. So it opens up a lot of career opportunities for you in the future. And one very unique thing about Portsmouth is when you study with us, we offer you a chance to learn a language for free as well. So we have a range of languages that you can choose from. So for example, Arabic, British Sign Language, French, German, Italian, Japanese, etc. So for example, if you want to work in a British school in the future, for example, then British Sign Language is something very useful that you can learn to help with to help students with special needs, for example, or disability. I think that is the end of my part for the first part of the workshop.
So thank you so much, Ms. Quyen and Ms. Adele, for your wonderful and useful sharing. And coming up next, we are really, really excited to hear from you, Ms. Quyen, about the journey of becoming a TESOL lecturer in the UK. Because from a Vietnamese student to become a TESOL lecturer in the home of English itself is very difficult. It's not that easy. So could you share with us the learning journey and some tips to boost your employability in the UK that you have experienced?
Before I talk about my own experience, I really want to introduce our university support for can everyone see my screen okay? Yeah. I really want to introduce the support that we have at the university for any of you who would like to join us and who would like to find career opportunities in the UK in general as part-time or full-time. So at the University of Portsmouth, we do have a career and employability service. So we provide support for graduates up to 5 years after you graduate. So you always have a place to come back to and ask for support should you need it. So we can help with a varieties of type of employment. So for example, part-time or casual work, or if you need help with finding volunteering opportunities or placements, or after you graduate, we also help you with job hunting. Or if you are very ambitious and you want to plan your career ahead right from the start of the course, you can also go to our career and employability service. Or if you want to start a business yourself, then we are more than happy to offer support as well. So the key services that we offer, the first one is, like for guidance on how to write a CV, because obviously we have a slightly different working culture in the UK, and the structure of the CV, it may be slightly different to the structure of the CV that you are used to here in Vietnam, you're familiar with in Vietnam. So we will guide you how to write a strong CV to meet the expectations of the employer in the UK. In the UK, when you apply for a job, you also need to write a cover letter. So essentially this letter, you will have to highlight all of your experience and knowledge and demonstrate why you would be the strongest candidate for the job that they are recruiting. So we will also offer you guidance on how to write this cover letter. We will also do mock interviews with you so that you come to your job interview with the highest level of confidence. And we do use a lot of LinkedIn in the UK, so we also help you how to set up LinkedIn, how to look professional on LinkedIn, and how to promote yourself using LinkedIn, or to meet with potential employer on LinkedIn as well. And as I said, we will also help you with finding placements or volunteering and internships opportunities, guide you on how these kind of employments work, the timeline of these employment, or any kind of funding or support available. We also have lots of career events. So for example, we have work experience festival or graduate recruitment and placement fair, where we will invite employers in the UK. So you will have the opportunities to go and meet the employers, to talk to them and to understand their expectations from graduates, and obviously to expand your network as well. And for teaching, depending on which sector you would like to teach in the UK, they may have specific expectations and guidance. So our service will also help you with the sector specific guides, so you will have the strongest applications when you apply for jobs in the UK. For tips, so I think international students do not use, especially Vietnamese students as well, tend to we do not utilize these services enough. They are free and they are widely available to you. So I'm not sure why. Maybe it's just a culture thing. We don't really go and ask for help enough. But I do encourage you to go and utilize these services right from the start of the course, because our staff will help, our colleagues in the career and employability service will help you map your career and to help you prepare for you to reach those kind of milestones in your career mapping right from the beginning. So my first advice would be to book an appointment very early on with our careers and employability services colleagues. And also obviously to use their service to help with your CV and application or interviews techniques. And attend as many career fairs and employers events as possible. So Vietnamese students tend to kind of we like to socialize with people from our country. It's very understandable, you know, like first time you are far away from home. But I do encourage you to kind of try to extend your network a little bit, even to keep in touch with your lecturers as well, because and be very proactive, because if you make a good impression with your lecturers or any of our staff, then obviously if any opportunities come up, you'll be the first one that they think of. So it is very good if you can socialize with people from other countries to learn about their experience as well. Because as you know, UK is a very multicultural country. So I do know that many of you have experience teaching in Vietnam, but Vietnam is more or less very mono kind of cultural. We do not have many foreign students. So although this experience is very valuable, if you really want to have more job opportunities in the UK, you do need to have experience in managing a class where your students may come from very, very different cultures. They may have very different beliefs. They may even have very different religions, and they may have conflicts with each other. So you do need to demonstrate that you have the ability to manage such a complicated cohort of students. So that's why it takes me to my next point of, you know, try to take up as many job opportunities as possible, even if it's volunteering, even if it is unpaid. So for example, for myself, when I first started in my MA course, I did a volunteering role to help students in primary school students in local school with their reading skill. So the government has a reading schemes, and they encourage university students to go to these primary school and help children who struggle a little bit. For example, if English may not be their first language, they may struggle with reading skills. So we went to these primary schools and helped children. It was totally unpaid, but I was more than happy to take up the opportunities because I know that it would help me in the long run. It would help me it would help to decorate my CV better, and then I will have more opportunity. I will have more possibilities to get a job in the UK because I could demonstrate that I have experience working with a very diverse populations of students. Yeah, it's just very similar points, but maybe into more details. So my first advice would be to set the right mindset and priorities and to focus on the long-term career roles. So for example, I know that international students always want to do part-time jobs. Of course, you need part-time jobs to support yourself financially as well. But my advice would be to choose these part-time jobs wisely. Choose a part-time job that would be a little bit more relevant to your your career path. So for example, if you want to become a teacher, then obviously aim for something like a teaching assistant kind of role rather than working in retails. It may help a little bit, but you know, the more relevant experience that you have, the better. So apart from working part-time just to earn money, please do keep in mind, you know, you have to do a bit more volunteering or even unpaid job to gain experience in the UK if that is something that if you do want to kind of have the opportunity to teach here. as I said, academic achievements alone are not enough, because we do have 20 to 25 students in our class. So that how may have to compete within the same time frame. So academic achievements alone won't be enough. You will have to demonstrate that you have the experience, you have the relevant experience, and you can handle a variety of learners in order to for your application to become more stronger. So you have the competitive edge. I think I've mentioned more or less some of these already. But there are many TESOL related events in the UK, because, we are the UK. English was first spoken here. So we have lots of related events and professional associations that you can join. And so you can come to the events to present your work, and then you will have the opportunity to publish maybe a small articles after you join these conferences, and that will really help with your portfolio or your CV when you apply for jobs later, especially if you're aiming for higher education institutions in the future. So publishing experience at conferences are very important if you want a job at higher education institutions. And also, my third advice for you is to identify a specialism within TESOL. So you can consider, stay versatile. So you have the ability to teach a variety of learner, but you also need to build your own recognized expertise. So whenever people need a certain person for a job, they think of you instantly. So for example, some of the specialism that you can choose from, for example, EFL or EAP, English for Academic Purposes, is it's not a new area, but we always need qualified teacher to teach academic English in the UK. Or I think in the chat earlier, one of our persons, one of them is teaching young learners. It is one particular specialism that you can choose for yourself, because obviously not everyone can teach young learners. I myself cannot teach young learners. I do not really have the patience and the energy to keep up with these young students. So if you actually enjoyed, if you're really interested in teaching young learners, I encourage you to actually choose to specialize in this subject. Or you can make yourself known in material writings. So if you have the ability, if you're a very creative person, I would also encourage you to choose to specialize in material writings. Or for example, IELTS or TOEFL, if you yourself have a lot of experience in preparing for these exams yourself, if you're a high IELTS score achiever, then you may want to specialize in exam preparation or assessment, or you may want to specialize in business English, because I know that many universities here in Vietnam, they do need lecturers who can teach English, who can use English to teach a specific subject. And business English and communication is one of the most popular subject area that you can specialize in at universities in Vietnam. So I know that, for example, RMIT, they do need lecturers in communications. RMIT, they do also have their own pre-sessional English, which essentially is EAP. So if you can choose a special, if you can make yourself become an expert in an area, that would also improve your chance of being employed. So, make yourself the go-to person for a job. Yeah. So make the employer need you and need your talent and expertise. And last but not least, try to revise your CV regularly. Any kind of experience, any kind of relevant experience, keep your CV updated, and adapt your CV and your cover letter for each of the job that you're applying for. So the common mistake is, you just send your CV, the same CV to 10 employers and no one get back to you. It is because you didn't really demonstrate that you are the best person for the job that you're applying for. So please do avoid the one-size-fits-all approach and adapt your CV and cover letter for each of the role that you're applying for. This will really increase your chance of getting the job. And in the CV or cover letter, obviously you do not have a lot of space. So highlight the skills relevant to the role that you're applying for. So for example, if you're applying for a business English lecturer, then obviously you have to highlight all of the experience that you have with business. So for example, if you have experience working for a bank or for any kind of business, that can also count as relevant experience because you have all of that vocabulary and the knowledge, industry knowledge to teach the students. So please do prioritize the most relevant skills in your CV and cover letter. And we are in 2025, so any digital or any IT skills that you have, experience that you have, will be very valuable. So for example, if you have experience working with different software or different platforms, so for example, if you can teach using Zoom or Moodle, or you have experience delivering classes online, these kind of skills are all very relevant in this kind of day and age. So please do showcase your IT skills, or even if you have experience using Adobe to create materials or Canvas to create engaging PowerPoint or videos for your students, then please do highlight these in your CV as well, and these will really help increase your employability. Yeah, I think this will be very relevant to the previous point that I have mentioned. And keep yourself up to date because, with AI and everything, and especially if you have the ability to utilize AI in teaching and assessment, then obviously it is also a strength that many universities in the UK are looking for. So please do keep yourself up to date and highlight these your digital literacy in your CV and cover letter. And one last thing, practice professional email manners. So for example, I know that, I think it's very culturally dependent because, in Vietnam, when you write an email in Vietnamese, you may need to use a certain style, but when you apply for a job or if you write an email to an employer in the UK, you will need to kind of conform to the style of the country. So just use clear subject lines and polite greetings. So there are many different tones of greetings that you can use. So try not to be balanced, try not to be overly formal, but also try not to be casual. So like, for example, sometimes I would receive email, addressing your lecturer by your first name is absolutely fine in the UK. Sometimes I receive a little bit too friendly greetings, for example, like, "Hey, Queen." That would be a little bit too informal to address your lecturer or a potential employer. So, the ability to use different style and headings and greetings depending on your target audience is very important. Keep messages concise and professional. We receive, or your employers may receive, hundreds of emails and applications every day. So, get straight to the point. Keep it polite, but also very succinct and straight to the point. To enhance the possibility that they will actually read the whole emails through and they won't miss any of the important information. proofread before sending. You have lots of support. So even if you use just the traditional Word document, I'm sure it would highlight all of the spelling mistakes that you have in your documents. So please do not send any emails with spelling mistakes. Or if you're more high-tech, AI can help you proofread your email and maybe can also help you adapt tone a little bit. So please do utilize these technology to proofread your email and present yourself as professional as you can. So every email will shape your professional image. So please do your best to create the best image that you want your employer to have. Yeah, I think that we the end
Thank
of
you
this.
so much for your wonderful sharing. It's very informative. And all the participants, that is the end of all the things that Miss Adele about University of Portsmouth and Miss Quyen about her experience and the tips for TESOL programs. So the final part of our workshop today is going to be like Q&A section. So please, guys, don't hesitate to leave the comments below about your question. Earlier in the registration process, we also received a lot of questions for you, Miss Adele and Miss Quyen. So I think that we should go first with Miss Adele about University of Portsmouth. Okay. The first question for you is that does the university offer a blended study format like partly online and offline on campus in the UK for TESOL program?
Okay, that's a good question. Usually when we offer a degree course, we'd say it's either on campus 100% or it's delivered via distance learning, which means it's online 100%. Now, if it's delivered on campus, you are expected usually to attend classes or meet with your tutors physically on campus in a classroom, but there might be some virtual sessions. So it could be a short tutorial, or it could be a recording of something that you are expected to prepare yourself with, read, attend online. So there can be a mixture, but in general, the campus-based courses do require you to be physically present for the entire degree. We don't have a program where you can attend some classes and then maybe take the next few months online. So it doesn't really happen that way. And I don't think I know of any UK university that offers a program that's half and half, like what you call a hybrid program. So potentially, if they are hybrid courses, they are usually more of a distance learning fashion that gives you the opportunity to come to campus for like a month or a particular module. But otherwise, if it's campus-based programs, then we do expect you to be 100% around on campus. I hope that helps to answer your question. Was that what you wanted to know?
That is the question earlier has been given, on the workshop. Unfortunately, that the participant cannot attend the workshop today, so they want to give you some question, and we will deliver to the participants later. The second question for you is that what TESOL practicum opportunities are available for the student at the University of Portsmouth?
Sorry, could you say that again?
Okay, the question is that what TESOL practicum opportunities are available at the University of Portsmouth for the students?
When you say practicum opportunities, are you saying like internships or placement opportunities? So within the Applied Linguistics and TESOL program, so for those who do have some teaching experience and they're coming to improve on their skills and delivery, potentially there could be an optional placement here. So if students are hardworking and they feel that they want to stay for another year to look for a job, and want to be able to teach, potentially that's possible. We don't guarantee placements because I know some students ask us, are these guaranteed? Will the university find a job for me? So if you ask any particular university, I would say majority of the universities in the UK would not guarantee a placement because it depends on how hard the student actually works towards that placement or getting that placement. We can prepare you all the way with your CV, with your interview skills, making you look like the perfect candidate, but we can't do the interview for you. So if you're coming face to face with an employer, then the interview is in your hands, but we can help to prepare you all the way up to that stage.
Okay, thank you so much. And a participant want to ask that, could you tell me more about the program, including time and fees, maybe the tuition fee and the living expenses as well?
Okay, maybe I could help with giving you a ballpark figure, so at least you have an estimate of how much you need to put aside to study a program like this on campus. So it's a 1-year degree. Our tuition fees at this time is £17,900, I believe. So if I do a quick calculation, I have a calculator here. So give me a moment. So let's say if your tuition fees is £17,900, and I mentioned earlier in my couple of slides about tuitions and scholarships. So if you're a Vietnamese passport holder, we automatically deduct £2,500 off your tuition fees. So immediately you spend a little less compared to some other students. So it becomes £15,400. That's your tuition fee. Now, living cost, for visa purposes, any student who lives outside of London, so if you're not in the London city centre, the visa authorities will expect you to have somewhere around £12,000 a month for living costs. Now, in reality, again, something I mentioned earlier, it all depends on how you live. So if you do a lot more cooking at home, you're not eating out as much, or if you, let's say you're not doing a lot of shopping and traveling, then basic student living in Portsmouth is it's actually under £10,000 for the year. So if you wanted to round it up, let's say for easy calculation, I just say £10,000. So your tuition fees plus your £10,000, it gives you, I think, approximately £25,000 and a bit. Comparatively, if you were to look at some of the universities in the UK that were ranked around the same region as the University of Portsmouth, you would see that many of their tuition fees alone are about £25,000. So Portsmouth tuition fees plus living cost, including your scholarship or subsidy, puts everything within about £25,000. You could survive with £25,000 for the entire program for that whole year and gain yourself that degree in Applied Linguistics and TESOL. And then if you decide you want to stay back and work, potentially you could be then earning your own salary. I hope that helps with that question. Okay.
And the final question for you is that in University of Portsmouth, is there any PhD program in TESOL? And if any, can you share some information about this for the participants?
Okay, so PhD programs generally range, in reality, we put down the program as a 3-year degree. Many students complete it within 3 to 4 years. Some, if they decide, they want to have more family time or some other thing, then it could take longer. So it all depends on your own personal circumstances. Now, keep in mind that doing a PhD and looking for a suitable supervisor is very much like looking for a marriage partner. So looking for a supervisor who is suitable for you takes a bit of homework. And yes, Portsmouth, we do have PhDs for linguistics or anything related to TESOL. So if you happen to find one of our professors who is able to supervise you, for a few reasons. Now, number one, they will need to be interested in your research project. Number two, they need to be available because they may already be supervising a group of other students, even though you may like this person very much and you may want this person to supervise you, you need to see if they have sufficient time to be supervising you. We do commit to our PhD students, so we don't say allow our PhD professors who have sort of committed to supervise students to leave the university. I know this happens sometimes in other universities, so we are committed to our students. If they are retiring for any reason, we do try to get a replacement supervisor for them. Otherwise, they're not allowed to leave. But yes, if you do have a PhD interest, please do let us know. It will take you a while to kind of create your PhD proposal. Yeah, so you're writing a bit of a book in that sense. And we encourage you to be as innovative as possible because we're always welcoming new ideas. So if you do want to do that, please do share with us.
Thank you so much for answering this question. So we come back to Miss Quyen. Mình có thể nói bằng tiếng Việt một chút để có thể hỗ trợ các bạn ạ, bởi vì là phần câu hỏi các bạn nói với tiếng Việt. Thì có bạn Hoàng Linh ạ, có comment vào chat một list các câu hỏi, tuy nhiên vì thời gian có hạn nên là cô Quyen sẽ hỗ trợ bạn trả lời những câu mà mình cảm thấy là sẽ có ích nhất, có thể bao hàm nhất trong quá trình du học không ạ? Đây ạ, em sẽ đọc ra một vài câu hỏi nhé. Dạ vâng. Đây ạ, TESOL educators hiện đang quan tâm nghiên cứu và phát triển lĩnh vực nào vậy cô? Em khá tò mò mức độ quan tâm AI của các lecturers tại UK ạ.
AI là một trong những ngành mà nghiên cứu đang lên tại các trường, bởi vì AI thì ở khắp mọi nơi rồi, và cho nên là trường cũng rất là quan tâm đến lĩnh vực là các bạn có thể dùng AI. Ví dụ như là mình biết là có một bạn làm dissertation về AI, bởi vì mình nghĩ là trong ChatGPT nó cũng có một cái function để giúp các bạn luyện kỹ năng nói á. Thì có một bạn đã làm hẳn một cái dissertation về ứng dụng AI trong ChatGPT để hỗ trợ các bạn học sinh nâng cao kỹ năng nói. Hoặc là mình cũng có một bạn khác làm dissertation về sử dụng AI để give feedback cho writing của các bạn, bởi vì nhiều khi mà chấm bài writing thì mình biết là rất là mất thời gian để viết feedback cho các bạn. Thì mình có một sinh viên làm đề tài dissertation like how to use AI to give feedback on students writing or report to help them with their IELTS writing. Thì đó cũng là một cái dissertation khác mà cũng về lĩnh vực AI. Thì nếu mà bạn quan tâm về AI thì mình nghĩ là đó là một cái đề tài rất là nổi bật, và đề tài này các bạn khi mà bạn học xong MA rồi bạn cũng có thể nghiên cứu thêm lên bậc tiến sĩ nữa, bởi vì đây là một lĩnh vực đang nhận được rất là nhiều sự quan tâm ở UK in general.
Dạ vâng. Câu hỏi tiếp theo mà bạn muốn đặt ra cho cô Quyen đó chính là quá trình apply công việc tại UK, đặc biệt là ở khối ngành TESOL, sẽ có những điểm nổi bật nào và khác so với Việt Nam tại cô? Cơ hội việc làm ngành TESOL có mở cửa cho học sinh không?
Nếu Cái này thì thật ra là tùy vào các bạn muốn dạy TESOL cho ở cấp độ nào. Ví dụ như khi mà các bạn học xong ngành MA này á, thì các bạn có thể dễ dàng xin việc vào làm ở những cái trung tâm ngôn ngữ ở Anh. Thì ở đây mình gọi là private language schools. Thì ví dụ như mình có thể dạy cho các học sinh quốc tế, hoặc là ở Anh thì có rất là nhiều kiểu như summer school, các cái khóa hè á, thì thường là người ta sẽ tuyển rất là nhiều giảng viên cho những cái khóa hè này. Thì với cái bằng MA của các bạn sẽ dễ dàng tìm được những công việc như vậy. Nhưng mà nếu các bạn muốn ví dụ như là dạy ở các trường đại học thì tiêu chuẩn nó sẽ hơi cao hơn. Ví dụ như professional course, tức là những cái khóa tiếng Anh này là dành cho những bạn mà trước khi các bạn đi du học nhưng mà các bạn chưa đạt chuẩn tiếng Anh á, thì các bạn sẽ phải học thêm những cái professional English course này. Thì nếu mà các bạn muốn dạy ở những cái khóa này thì những khóa này lúc nào cũng sẽ đòi hỏi các bạn có rất là nhiều kinh nghiệm giảng dạy ở Anh. Thì thường là sẽ đòi các bạn là phải có 1 đến 2 năm kinh nghiệm giảng dạy tại Anh. Thì cái này thì nó sẽ quay lại cái điểm ban đầu mà mình nói đó. Thì cái cơ hội để các bạn làm việc các bạn phải nắm lấy, even if là nó chỉ volunteering thôi hoặc là không được trả lương, thì các bạn cũng phải nắm lấy những cái cơ hội này. Bởi vì khi mà employer nhìn vào CV của các bạn á, thì teaching experience ở Việt Nam thì cũng rất là quan trọng, nhưng bởi vì như mình nói thì experience in Việt Nam thì mình chỉ dạy cho học sinh Việt Nam thôi. Nhưng mà khi các bạn vào dạy những cái lớp recessional này thì học sinh sẽ đến từ khắp nơi trên thế giới, thì cho nên là employer sẽ muốn thấy được trên CV của các bạn là các bạn có khả năng để quản một cái lớp học mà sinh viên đến từ nhiều quốc gia khác nhau, và sinh viên cũng sẽ không có nói tiếng Việt. Bởi vì khi mình dạy người Việt á, khi mà các bạn dạy thì có thể là khi mà học sinh không hiểu gì đó thì mình có thể là translate về tiếng Việt để mà giúp các bạn hiểu nhiều hơn. Nhưng mà nếu các bạn dạy Professional English thì tiếng Anh là cái ngôn ngữ duy nhất mà các bạn có thể dùng để giảng dạy. Thì đó là cho nên là employer sẽ nhìn vào là bạn đã có những kinh nghiệm giảng dạy gì ở Anh rồi, chứ không phải chỉ là những cái kinh nghiệm giảng dạy ở nước sở tại ở nước Việt Nam. Và nếu mà các bạn muốn đi lên trở thành giảng viên thì mình cũng khuyến khích các bạn là học thêm lên cao hơn một chút. Ví dụ như là học tiến sĩ. Thì với những bạn nào mà muốn đi vào giảng dạy tại các trường đại học thì một là các bạn phải đi theo con đường nghiên cứu. Thì các bạn làm về research nhiều, hoặc là các bạn học PhD về TESOL thì các bạn sẽ đi theo hướng giảng dạy. Thì mình khuyến khích là các bạn sẽ làm dissertation ở MA level, bởi vì để khi mà các bạn nộp hồ sơ đi học PhD á, thì lúc nào người ta cũng sẽ nhìn là bạn có research skills hay không. Thì nếu mà các bạn muốn dạy tại các trường đại học thì nên làm dissertation, và dĩ nhiên là nên học lên bậc cao hơn.
Cảm ơn cô vì câu trả lời. Thank you, Ms. Adele, for answering Lucy's question. Are there any kind of student loans to support financially? Okay, unfortunately, that UK university do not offer, right? Okay, thank you so much. And the next question for all of you is that could we have a sample degree after participating the applied linguistic program?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Sample degree, I have
So
no idea.
you will have a degree certificate after you studied the applied linguistics degree. So you study for a year of teaching, and when you graduate, we give you the transcript of all the different modules that you studied, and you receive a degree certificate, a master's degree certificate. So I'm not sure what a sample degree means. If you could give us more information about your question, we can help to answer it a bit better. Yes, so after you've studied the program, you get so it's just like if you study a degree in Vietnam, you study for that duration. So I think in Vietnam, you study 2 years for your master's degree. In UK, you study 1 year. Okay.
Oh, I understand it. I
Uh,
can understand the question now.
okay.
So you do have a master degree after you finish our MA in Applied Linguistics and TESOL. So I think what you refer to is a TESOL certificate. A TESOL. So in the UK, we have different level of education.
Right,
So,
I get it.
yeah,
Okay.
an MA degree is a level 7. Whereas a TESOL certificate that you usually can get in Vietnam, it is a level 5 kind of degree. So it would be like a more or less year 2, level 5, year 2.
Level 5 is year 2 of a
it's
bachelor
like-
degree.
Yeah, it's like a year 2 of a bachelor degree. So a TESOL certificate would equate a 2nd year of a bachelor degree in the UK. And if you finish our MA degree, then you will have a proper master degree at level 7.
Yeah, so it's a proper master's degree, which is the next level after the bachelor. And if you decide you want to continue to a PhD, then you will need this master's degree. So so what I was referring to was the master's degree certificate, not a TESOL certificate. It's a master's degree certificate that gives you the recognition of being able to teach TESOL. Okay.
Yeah, another question for Dr. Quyen is that quá trình du học tại Anh có những khó khăn và diễn giả đã làm gì để vượt qua những khó khăn đó ạ?
Khó khăn thì chắc là cũng có một số, nhưng mà mình nghĩ là lúc mới đi du học thì dĩ nhiên là bước chân từ một cái môi trường mà mình chỉ nói tiếng Việt thôi và xung quanh mình cũng chỉ là người Việt thôi, và mình khi mà bước chân vào Anh thì sẽ có rất là nhiều người đến từ những cái quốc gia khác nhau và những cái nền văn hóa khác nhau. Thì đặc biệt là khi mình đi dạy á, thì có thể bước đầu sẽ cảm thấy rất là khó khăn khi mà phải dạy một cái lớp mà có rất là nhiều những cái nền văn hóa khác nhau như vậy, hoặc là có nhiều tôn giáo khác nhau, và nhiều khi những cái nền văn hóa và những cái tôn giáo này nó có thể không có hòa hợp với nhau. Thì khi mà mình đi dạy mình cảm thấy đôi lúc cũng khó khăn để mà có thể hòa hợp tất cả mọi người và like engage everyone in the classroom and give everyone an equally good experience.
Another question from Ms. Adele. Dear Ms. Adele, I wonder if I can carry my kids on my master study.
Okay, that's a good question. I know some of you may have children. Unfortunately, the UKVI, so UKVI is basically the UK immigration authorities, they no longer allow master students to take their families across with them for studying. You can only do this if you are doing a research degree, so a PhD or a Master of Research. Potentially, then you can bring your family because that is usually for a longer duration. But if it's a 1-year master's program, unfortunately, it's not the university who decides, it is the immigration authorities, and they say that only the student can come. So their family has to stay back. Okay. I think there's another question. Apart from fees of £25,000, what do I prepare for? Okay, so the £25,000 is not your fees. It's your fees and your living cost. Okay. In some other universities, they may charge £25,000 for only the fees. Our fees after your scholarship is only about £15,000 plus. So maybe £15,500. Then your living cost maybe is about £10,000 or less. So everything for that period of your master's degree can be £25,000. So it's not only fees, it's fees plus living cost. Okay. So that's the financial requirement. And then if you are going to apply, then there will be some documentation requirements like a personal statement. You'll need 2 references. One will be an academic reference. If you have been working, then a professional reference would be good. We'll need your bachelor degree transcript and certificate as well. And of course, we will need your English language qualification. Okay, so there are a few things that we will need from you. And the best person to advise you, if you need more information on this, will be the organizers of today's workshop. So INDEC, who've organized today's session, we have provided them with access to our admission system. So all you need to do is to tell them what you want to apply for, what you need, and they will be able to advise you what documents to show. And you can give them your documents, show them your originals. They will make some copies for the university and upload it into our system. And then from there, we'll be able to work on your application. Okay.
There's another question from Lucy, as you can see. For the scholarship of £5,000, can I have more details about the requirements and I need to meet the attendance one?
Okay, good one. So this is a competitive scholarship. As I said earlier, it's based on academic merit. So whatever qualifications you've used to apply for the degree course, we will use the same documents, or rather the scholarship committee will refer to the same documents. All you need to do is fill up an online form. So on our scholarship webpage, there is an online form that students can use to fill in their details, provide us with their student ID, because we need you to have an offer from the university first before you are able to apply for a scholarship. So if you have an offer from the university for, let's say, the Masters in TESOL, then you can apply for the scholarship. You just fill in the form. We do not expect you to attend an interview or write a long essay for the scholarship. It is based purely on your excellent results or whatever results that you want to showcase and to show us that you have from your previous qualification. So if you did very well, you had a high CGPA in your bachelor degree, then please show us that. Please apply for the merit scholarship. I can say that in the recent years, it has been more and more competitive. So a lot of the students who apply to us are usually first-class honors students. I won't lie, it is competitive, but we do give a lot of these scholarships. So we want to encourage more students from Vietnam to also apply for these scholarships. If you've done very well, you have a high CGPA, something that you would consider maybe equivalent to a distinction level in your university or your college, then please apply. Okay, so these are some of the requirements that, or some of the criteria that we look at when we consider a student for a scholarship, a merit-based scholarship.
Thank you so much. And perhaps there is one final question for our Q&A section, is that what kind of teaching education related experience would be an advantage for studying TESOL in the UK, and should students consider earning any additional certificates?
So if you're applying for the applied linguistics and TESOL, I would say any teaching experience would count, but specifically more on group teaching kind of setting. So for example, if you are a teaching assistant in a local language schools for a minimum of 3 months, you are more than welcome to apply for our applied linguistics and TESOL course. The only thing I would be a little bit more cautious about is if you are tutoring on a one-to-one basis, that can be a little bit tricky to prove, because usually teaching experience, we would ask you to submit a CV and also maybe one reference letter from your current or previous employer. So if you do tutoring one-to-one, it will be very difficult to kind of prove this teaching experience. Otherwise, I would say it's only how confident you are with your teaching experience, because I know that many teachers have been teaching for many years, but maybe some of them have been doing it very intuitively, not based on any kind of theoretical concepts or teaching principles. So although they've been teaching for a long time, they feel that they are not that confident with, TESOL and linguistic concept. In that case, I would then advise them to apply for the MA in TESOL. So it also depends on how confident you are with your familiarities and your expertise in TESOL and linguistics.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Quyen and Miss Adele, for your valuable answer for all the participant questions. And I think that is the end of our part for the Q&A session. So các bạn ơi, mình có thể thấy là mình đã vừa được nghe các giải đáp từ cô đúng không nhỉ? Chương trình của chúng ta hôm nay đã đến hồi kết do thời gian có hạn này. Nên là nếu bạn nào có nhu cầu được tư vấn chuyên sâu tại UK, hay là đừng ngần ngại đặt lịch ngay với team tư vấn nhé của Index để có thể nhận được những hỗ trợ ngay và luôn, đúng không nhỉ? Okay. Thank you so much, and you can say some goodbyes for all students.
Thank you for having
here.
us. It's good to see so many of you join today. We hope it's been useful. We're actually sitting in Hanoi right now, delivering this to you. And perhaps we might get to meet up in the future. And if you are applying to Portsmouth, hopefully we get to see you in Portsmouth.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, và phần cuối của chương trình này thì để có thể lưu giữ lại buổi workshop ngày hôm nay thì mình có thể nhờ các bạn là có thể bật hết cam lên này và chụp ảnh nhé. Mình sẽ cùng chụp một bức ảnh lưu niệm với lại cô Quyen và cô Adele, được không nhỉ? Everyone, please turn your camera. Yeah.
Very nice to see you in person.
It's lovely to see everyone.
Just
Yes.
glass boxes.
Yeah.
It's like they are a little bit,
Yeah.
shy. Yeah.
Hello. Nice to see you.
Yeah.
This is lovely.
Bộ phận kỹ thuật ơi, mình có thể giúp cô Adele này, cô Quyen và các bạn có thể ghi lại khoảnh khắc của kỷ niệm của buổi workshop này hôm nay được không nhỉ? Okay, so I should count. Should I count? Now, 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, that is the end of our workshop today. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
They're very informative and very valuable, your talk, your sharings, and also your experience as well. Okay. Và phần cuối chương trình này các bạn ơi, thì triển lãm du học Index sẽ tổ chức vào ngày 30 tháng 10 gần đây. Thì nếu như các bạn có quan tâm đến chương trình thì đừng ngần ngại là hãy đăng ký tham gia nhé. Okay. Các bạn có thể thấy rằng là Du học Index đã gửi cho các bạn link đăng ký chương trình triển lãm du học quốc tế vào ngày 30 tháng 10 ở trong phần box chat rồi. Thì vậy thì cảm ơn các bạn rất nhiều vì đã tham gia cùng Index trong buổi chiều ngày hôm nay và mong sẽ có cơ hội sớm nhất để được gặp các bạn, được không nhỉ? Và chúc các bạn có một buổi tối vui vẻ nhé. Okay. It's time to say goodbye. See you guys in the near future. Goodbye.